Hey, it's character building! Hi, and welcome to It's Character Building,
a show where we pick a theme,
and then we go off and build Pathfinder Second Edition characters based on that theme.
and then we come back and chat about them with an artist.
Today's theme is level 5 tacky characters.
And our wonderful artist, or should I say artists, are Jasmine and Maddie from What a Jam. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit about What a Jam? What you guys do?
Yeah. Boy, do we. Jazz.
Yeah, we're just like two funky friends who have a cute little clothing shop.
We like to find all of the best quality vintage and funky, weird, quirky outfits and clothes and sell them at our Instagram, What a Jam.
None of them tacky, though.
None of them,
No.
I promise. But we thought they would be fun guests, so they're going to pull together some outfits that represent the essence of each of our characters today. We thought we'd do a fun little twist for episode 5. Very
Yeah.
exciting.
Going down the line, we will have all sorts of different artists and art forms showcasing the characters. So if you really love those live drawings we had in those first episodes, it's not all going to be like that. So
Suck it.
fabulous. And our guest today is, of course, as you'd all recognize, the
Incomparable.
Gianni Tills, which you might know from
Incontinent. Wait.
Such shows as
Gianni Tills.
Realignment and sometimes streams. And
Yeah.
also sometimes educational videos. Isn't that right, Gianni?
Yep. That's me.
He's also quite tall. Fabulous. So we've built some tacky characters today. Ebony, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. All right. So I feel like everybody knows the trope of the old, like, crazy cat lady, crazy collector lady, the
auntie.
ancient woman with a million little tchotchkes and like more lace doilies than you can, than should feasibly be in any one home. So I'd like to picture, if you will, like an ancient Tengu woman, absolutely draped, covered in lace and bows and ruffles, like almost indistinguishable from the couch that she's sitting on. Like you don't really know where couch ends and bird woman begins, like just like that. And that would be Edna Proust, who is my character. So like I said, she is a Tengu. She's very old, ancient. I can't tell you her exact age because it's very rude to ask a woman her age. Tengu, for those who don't know, are like crow or raven ancestry. So a feathery friend. And this one, like her real world relatives, really likes a tasty little object. So like cat figurines, like the old little milkmaids, like just a million ceramic figurines like line every surface of her home. That's how I like to picture her. And the class that I chose for her is actually thaumaturg, because I thought that would be a sort of fun interplay on that idea, because obviously like the traditional thaumaturg is, you know, all sorts of different spiritualism and folklore, and like twisting that into like old folk tales, or like old folk tall tales, you know, like rub a gold ring on your sty, like all the kind of crazy things that, you know, your grandma tells you. So that was the kind of twist that I wanted to go with for her. And I went with a taloned Tengu as well, because I like to imagine that she's got like hot pink, really long claws that she like clutches all of her little things.
So straight up, I cannot wait to see how we materialize a Tengu.
Yeah, me too.
Ebony,
Absolutely. Very much the classic trope of like the old lady hoarder. I mentioned her home's very musty. I imagine she smells very musty. And like just clashing, pattern clashing, color clashing, textural nightmare of a person.
Is she drawn to like any particular kind of colors or textures at all, other than
I
lace?
think like definitely like old lady paisley for sure. I feel like she's probably in a nightgown, to be honest, but she's
All
got
the time?
several layers on top of it, so
Well,
you can't
eventually.
really tell.
I like to like because a thaumaturge,
Yeah.
thaumaturg has like an implement, right?
Yeah, you get like a couple different implements as you
I feel
go.
like she would just lose it all the time in just the clutter.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
like I got to go on an adventure.
Yeah,
Where's my
yeah,
X?
Yeah. The first implement I did choose for her was the amulet. And then because we're level 5, you do get a second one. And I went with the bell. And I actually think I'd probably, if I was building this character again, choose the bell first because I don't know if anyone else's grandmother did this, but mine rang a dinner bell.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a very old world thing.
Yeah, well, and the bell is really fun because its whole like thing for the thaumaturg is that it causes like different emotions and stuff. Like that's the flavor of how it affects your enemies in like combat and stuff. So I thought that was very fitting. But she's pretty simple, like a lot of like kind of not crafting, but she's got like crafter's appraisal, a lot of that kind of focused stuff. But I think my favorite feat that I took for her is actually Magpie Snatch, which is a Tengu feat, which means that you can stride twice and then interact to grab any unattended object. So I just imagine she's like
constantly gathering.
gathering, constantly adding to her hoard.
So if she's, she's old, what was Edna like when she was younger?
I feel like she was probably pretty sheltered. Tengu, at least in like the ancestry that is laid out for us in Pathfinder, they can either be from like very they're generally from quite cloistered environments, or they are, very much family units or like monastic kind of ancestry. So I feel like maybe her family potentially moved away from like the mountainside or wherever they may originally have been from, and she'll have been in whatever city she's lived in like since she was birth. I'd not be surprised if she's lived in the same house like for as long. I feel like if this was a player character as well, like someone that was in a party, it's involuntary involvement. Absolutely. It may be someone that the party would come to that would have come to like gather information or maybe try and barter for one of her items or something. I feel like she's very much a collector, but her home is her safe space. So I think she would have been quite sheltered.
So then did she... Because you can't just get trinkets. I mean, she's clearly stolen a lot of them.
Absolutely.
But you can't just get all your trinkets out of nowhere. So did she work growing up, or is it old money?
It's for sure old money that you wouldn't know, like money under the mattress money, like a fair bit of it.
Every ceramic jar has a couple gold pieces in it.
Yeah, I took a couple different feats like bargain hunter and stuff like that. Like I think that's her whole thing, is that if this world had the internet, she's always on eBay, like looking for that collectible figurine.
Very, very thematic for the thaumaturge.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
Just everything has significance.
Everything.
And power.
Yeah. That
on a-
milkmaid is the most important.
So on a
one.
sliding scale from like minimalism to full-blown hoarder,
Pretty close to full-blown hoarder. There's not an uncovered surface in her nest, I would say.
Big maximalist vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like another way I wanted to like bring that flavor is in the magical items that I chose for her. So I think as this character grew and as like they got more gold, like I think they'd put it all into Wondrous figurines, just like the full collection.
the full collection
just
of Wondrous
the full
figurines.
collection of Wondrous
Which,
figurines.
combat-wise, like in
It's pretty
encounter,
cool.
it's actually pretty
It is,
awesome.
yeah,
Because if you
absolutely.
had all of those on hand, you'd have an animal for any situation.
There's a really cool one that you can get at level 5 called
Yeah, she'll need to level up if she wants the full collection.
is the candy constrictor, which I really like because it is a piece of candy. It's like a little snake-shaped
snake.
piece of candy, like a musk stick or something, which I also thought was very fitting.
I guess because they have so many trinkets within like their nest, do they like to carry a lot of trinkets on them at all times?
I mean, the thaumaturg as a class is a carrier of objects. They always have like little things in their
Talismans.
pockets,
Necks.
talismans, necklace. And I think so. I think she'd have, I don't know, maybe some weird objects as earrings or something.
Like weird things in her hair, like
beads and
lots of
baubles,
pockets. Yeah.
lots of rings as well. I think just like full minor bird, like like crow brain constantly.
a bag of musk sticks.
A bag, like a little bag of, and every once in a while she's like, oh, the snake. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah,
I really like that thaumaturg flavor on that. Like, I actually didn't consider that at all for tacky, but like, as far as classes that like collect little baubles, it's the thaumaturg.
Yeah.
For sure.
This mirror. I like this mirror.
This one, see how it's got a little dolphin here?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes it special.
It honestly sounds a lot like me. So.
What you know?
Okay, we'll dress you as this character. Gianni, would you like to run us through what you made?
Yeah, and I fully expected that there would be like a bright knick-knack kind of focused thing. So I tried to like think of something contrasting to that. So a dark stage, a hushed audience waits in anticipation. My phone just locked. Suddenly, lights, smoke slowly creeps onto the stage. A coffin begins to rise onto the stage as slow dramatic music plays. And then a voice booms from within the coffin. Since the beginning of time, we have wondered what awaits us on the other side. Do our loved ones still think of us from the boneyard? One gnome takes a step through death's door to find out. I am Duke Harrow, Soul Creep. And then suddenly the coffin door opens, but gasp, it's empty. The lights pivot to the audience. There he is. He was there the whole time in the audience. And walking down to the stage, nay, gliding down to the stage is a gnome. Duke Harrow, which is, of course, just a stage name.
The Soul Creep.
His real name is Big Pendle. And so gliding to the stage is a gnome. He has slicked back hair. One side is white, one side is black because
Classic.
he's a chameleon gnome, and it's representative of his, his one foot in the boneyard in the land of the dead, and then 1 foot in real life. Very symbolic. But of course, being a chameleon gnome, he can change his sort of like physical appearance and colors at will. He's wearing like a designer like blazer cloak coat with sleeves rolled up, of course. And then like a low like scoop like white t-shirt, and he's just adorned with just too much jewelry. Like he's got like chains and like just rings on all of his fingers as he kind of like glides towards the stage. And he's just adorned and painted with a whole bunch of just indiscernible religious tattoos and iconography.
Like, he doesn't even know what
it
they
doesn't
mean.
matter. It doesn't matter. Just as long as it is spiritually significant in some capacity, it's there. And he glides up to the stage, and then the crow tattoo on his chest bursts out into a crow that circles around him and lands on his shoulder. It has a little mask on to make it look like a psychopomp, which are like magical kind of creatures.
Mosoi or I can't remember. It literally just had some in the game I played, but yeah, the little bird guys with the plague doctor mask.
Yeah, and they're basically like the like real psychopomps are kind of like these magical creatures which are kind of ushers and heralds of
The dead.
Pharasma and the boneyard, and they kind of like deal with the
it's
pathway.
just a bird with a
It's
mask.
just a bird with a mask, but they don't know that. And this is Duke Harrow, Soul Creep. So
Man after my own heart.
So he, so a bit of a different vibe, but I tried to think about like, what do I find to be really tacky? And I find it to just absolutely be just like completely over the top. Like,
I mean, Vegas
street and
magician.
stage magicians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if they're good, great, no problems. But like when they're just doing the most basic of things,
Mediocre.
but just over the top
They really do
showmanship.
be doing the most.
Yeah. It's a lot.
His disappearing acts are never quite good because you can hear him jangling away to his next spot.
So he's a illusionist wizard. But his big like call to fame is that like he speaks with the dead, and so he makes a lot of money because people pay to come to his show so that they can have the chance of potentially speaking with a loved one who has passed or whatever.
That's the like really funny thing in a world with magic, right? Is that these shows where they're like, I can speak, I'm a medium. We're like, oh, that's amazing. People can't do that. Whereas in the realm of Pathfinder, they just can.
Yeah, they can, but not him. So a lot of people can, but he cannot. However, he is very good at making people think that he can because he's a trained illusionist.
Of course.
So he started off as like a street magician, essentially. Like I'm imagining like private school educated kind of.
Of course.
Just a kid that
Don't
like.
tell me what to do, Mom.
Yeah, like had a fedora on, learned how to do a couple of card tricks, and then slowly, as people started to give him more attention, he was like, "Cool, I'm gonna be a cool magician," and then started
doing push-ups.
Yeah, started doing push-ups. And got cool.
You gotta be ripped to be a magician. That's the.
Oh, yeah.
So his background is actually as a false medium. So he started off basically
I was
swindling
wondering
people.
if it was either maybe that or the charlatan background.
Yeah. Charlatan was one that I looked at. But essentially, I chose false medium because like I like to think that he started off with street magician stuff, but then he started to realize that people would spend a lot more money and give him a lot more money if he started doing emotional connection kind of things, and so he just went into that. And he joined like I think like a troupe of stage magicians that like had like a quite a successful career, but then they ended up throwing him out because he was a pretty like selfish kind of tacky person, I think, and they didn't believe in him, and so he now tries to keep up this facade of his celebrity status, and so I've got the celebrity archetype as my
cool.
archetype. And so he tries to keep up this illusion of being, rich and famous and popular, but he's actually like he's the forgotten band member kind of thing. He's the Ringo Starr almost of the troupe. He basically like relies on his illusion magic to do pretty much like the basic expected things where it's like throwing ghost whispers, and like he can create like illusions of people like the dead coming back on stage and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't actually come to his show. So one of the spells that I wanted to showcase was a spell that I found, which was Phantom Crowd.
I love that spell so much.
Which he basically just uses to fill seats in his
Is he
tiny
paying
shows.
for the tickets? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Buys his own tickets and then Phantom creates a crowd.
Yeah.
It's all about the image, baby.
Everyone's like,
all of his shows are sold out because he just fills up all the seats with
and because
illusions.
arguably everybody in the audience that pays would then get a will save. So like you've got one person in the audience just like, well, this place is packed, and looks at the person next to them and sees that they're not really like.
It's very dark and there's lots of strobe lights, so you don't really.
And you've got that like uncanny valley of them just being like.
Yeah. This is great. And this is actually like one of the cool abilities of his familiar, Duskwing, his raven, who he has the his wizard focus is improved familiar attunement. So like he has basically like this bit going with his familiar, and so his familiar's abilities are actually not in here. What? I selected them. So he gets two familiar abilities, and the first is accompanist, which is hilarious because whenever you attempt a performance check, your familiar can accompany you with chirps, claps, or like its own miniature instrument. So I like to think that the bird's just kind of like applauding and like cheering from the crowd. Whenever, yeah, basically just flying around the crowd, like hyping people up. Yeah.
Holds up little signs like applaud.
Yeah.
The Phantom crowd's like,
yeah. So he basically just takes himself way too seriously. The problem that comes with this job though is he often gets like employed to take on like missions and like, you know, like exorcisms and things, like, because people are like, oh, you can speak with the dead and stuff like that. Like, can you come and do this? And of course, he can't turn down a job. So he'll go to like
Keeps
haunted
buying all
houses
these
and
theater
stuff.
tickets.
Yeah. He keeps going to like, you know, clear out haunted houses and stuff. But he was, you know, quite concerned about not actually being able to do much to them. So his item that I gave him was called a corpse ward pendant. Which is basically a like a skull necklace that he wears around his neck, and basically once per hour he can activate it, and it basically means that undead can't detect him, so they cannot sort of like see him or hear him or do anything, specifically undead. So he'll go into like a haunted house or whatever, and he'll be like, yep, I got this. Don't worry. I'll go in, you know, don't worry, guys. I'll go in and, you know, cleanse your house. It walks in, just like waits for like 20 minutes and then comes back out again and takes the money and leaves.
No ghosts here.
Yeah, because like, you know, he doesn't want to, he's actually scared of the undead. Yeah. So he's like, nope, people will come to me to do undead stuff. I don't want to deal with
And
it.
then he walks out now like, wow, everyone who's walked into that house has died. And he's like, not me.
Cast some
And then the
illusion.
next person who walks in dies.
Yeah.
And they're like, damn it.
Ah, another one.
A new haunting, I guess.
Yeah. So, you know, he throws lights and sounds around to make it look like he's doing, you know.
Does he fake hauntings? Does he
he
go
probably
out
does,
and then
yeah.
like make a fake haunting with his illusions so that he then gets hired?
I think if jobs are tight, then yeah, he definitely does. Like, you know, he has to,
I imagine there's no like job that's beneath him.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
if he's like, I can make money that way,
Yeah.
he's gonna do it.
yeah. So he's a very just a real cringy
guy.
kind of tacky guy.
This guy.
Yeah. He's the type of guy you'd go to dinner with and he would expect you to pay. Like he would be like, cool, thanks for dinner, regardless of the situation. Like that's the kind of guy that he is.
So
Yay.
it's gonna be fun for you guys.
Yeah.
How's
that.
your collection of douchebag clothes?
I feel like
Magician clothes? Maybe. I can sort of see some things in mind already.
You were saying like designer, but considering that I feel like he's a trust fund baby a little bit, is he now wearing just more knockoff
So
stuff?
yeah, so
Because
he like glamours on like the brand logos. You know, it's like he just buys something from Kmart and then he's like Gucci. You know, puts like the threading on it.
I think we can play with
He's
that a
actually
little.
just got a Dwemer weave robe, and then every outfit every night is just illusory disguise.
one of the options that I got for him from his ancestry was project persona, which is where others etch their armor to serve as a kind of, this is a gnome ancestry feat. Your vivid mind and bold personality allow you to project a more fitting persona over your lackluster armor. So it basically allows you to change the shape and appearance of your armor and clothes to be whatever you imagine. So he can just kind of create his coolest outfit ever.
What a great
without
feat.
having to actually buy it. And like that's just like a gnome ability, so he doesn't need to like cast a spell or anything. It's just like bam, done.
Yeah, chameleon clothes.
Yeah, he can just make himself appear however he wants without having to buy anything.
How tall would he be? Do you think?
Gnomes are like
3 feet.
I keep picturing like
I this
I think
is
he thinks
that's
he's like a 6 foot dude.
I really like the contrast of that. It's just like the smallest person, but he's like the biggest ego. in the world. Yeah.
which is pretty common for gnomes.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole thing with gnomes is like they have to constantly invigorate their life and their thing, or they go through the bleaching, which is where color drains from them and they die instead of living incredibly long lives. So I love that whenever you build a gnome, you've got to justify that in
Their
some way.
irrational
Like,
behavior,
there's
yeah.
got to be something that they do that is exciting and like fulfills them. Otherwise, which could be the most mundane thing as well, which is the flip side, I guess. Yeah, really nice. I love that.
What have you brought for us, Tyler?
Fabulous. So I
was
want
so
you to
ominous.
picture the bustling streets of Absalom, the largest city in all of Galarian. There's merchants, and there's scoring. Midday sun is beating down, but it doesn't stop the crowds from thronging through the streets. And we pan down through to find a squat, pot-bellied halfling man dressed in a gaudy floral shirt. With some light leather shorts.
You know you were meant to create a fictional character.
Emblazoned with heaps of pockets, and he's got 2 big gold rings on, and he's pulling along a little suitcase behind him, big pair of dark glasses, and sweat's dripping off his brow. He stands confidently, and he's bustling through the street, occasionally checking a little guidebook that he's got in his hand, flipping it open, checking out the sights as he bustles around the town. And he is, of course, a tourist. Because I figured what's tackier than the ultimate representation of the tourist, of course, is the in Discworld, the
Exactly what I was thinking.
in color magic with the luggage. And so that was my inspiration here, definitely. This is Boris Boggins. But his friends call him Lucky, which is a nickname among halfling cultures that's so common to the point of absurdity. There's so many halflings called Lucky that it's almost improbable that there should be, but that's just half. They're all just like so happy-go-lucky. He's recently retired. He's set out to see the world as he's always dreamed his entire life. He is a cleric, but I wanted to have it be by hobby rather than by trade. So he's earned his living throughout his life, just working down at the lumber mill as a labourer. Gave him the labourer background. So he's just been hauling wood, saving and scrimping, and like living a very like quiet, mundane life, never marrying, because he's always just dreamed of setting out into the big wide world. And eventually he saved up enough money at the ripe age of probably 85, 90 years old, so well into his middle age for a halfling. And he's sold all of his belongings and packed a little suitcase and bought a few little magic items to help him on his way and headed out. Boris is a hillock halfling, which basically just means he's the halfling from classic lore of your Frodo Baggins.
Simple farming folk.
Which is something for... when you rest, you can have... or someone heals you, you can have a little snack to heal yourself just a little bit more. Which is...
I wish.
Really
the dream.
Lovely. And then I gave him... I imagine he has a really thick accent, so I gave him the folksy patter ancestry feat, which is basically you can hide the meaning of what you're saying in a thick brogue and a bunch of slang and stuff. So people really don't understand him, and he's loud and he's boisterous.
Yeah. So everywhere he goes, people are like,
but he's so imposing of a
jolly.
halfling. I think it's the same thing but opposite. It's not ego, it's life and joy and happiness, and he's so happy to be out in the world that people are just like, you're okay, cool.
And he just has so many Cliff Bars.
Yeah.
Always snacking.
Elven bread.
Yeah, he's been drying and setting his own protein bars for the last 20 years, so it's
Some of them are really hard.
Yeah. Lucky is a cleric of Chaldria, who is a halfling goddess of luck, protection of friends. She despises tyrants. She's kind of like the big halfling deity that really sort of represents a lot of the values that they hold. And so he's just worshipped her in his own way his entire life, and as a result has sort of gained her favor and become a cleric. And so I wanted to make sure that he wasn't, he's not out to adventure. He certainly could, and he is, but he's not built and
He's not looking for danger. He's looking to see the sights.
Yeah, to be an adventurer. So I was very careful in my spell selection for Boris, because I wanted him to be more of that supplementary, more of a support role, because, if he's along for the adventure, he's there because he wants to protect his friends and help people. And he's got the two big rings are his magic items, which one is Bort's Blessing, which lets you train in a language every day, which is perfect for a tourist, so you can speak with the locals. And the other one is the Ring of the Weary Traveller, which gives you a 10-foot speed bonus, but only for overland travel. So it basically means you travel faster and you're immune to fatigue. Unless you get fatigued again, and then you get double fatigued.
So he's just hiking from town to town.
So he doesn't pay. He hikes his way from town to town, protects himself with the luck and protection of Chaldria, because I suspect him into the luck domain. So a lot of his abilities are based around basically just getting re-rolls and getting like fortune
things just
effects.
working out.
And so things have always worked out for him. He worked hard and now he's being rewarded in life just the way it should be because he's being protected by the divine. But for him, he doesn't super know that. He's just like, and he's a consummate gambler and loves his drink as all halflings do. So goes from town to town, has a gamble, has a drink. He's got a
stands up on top of a big hill, looks around, goes,
it's
pretty nice here,
nice.
and moves on.
Oh yeah, it's nice up here.
He sounds like the kind of character that would like swear by his Crocs.
Yeah,
Like-
I
Yeah.
was going to say, I have one very important question. Does he wear socks and sandals?
Oh, 100% he's wearing socks and sandals. He's as middle-aged dad and as tourist as I think a halfling could potentially get.
Would he wear a bum bag?
I don't see why not.
Okay, perfect.
But they're trendy now. They're on
Damn
trend.
it.
Yeah, an ugly bum bag.
Yeah.
One with like just so many
Oh, he
pockets.
sewed it himself, obviously.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I actually...
Several.
It's one of those ones that's like stitched into like your shirt. And, like, you pull up layers and.
Oh yeah, he's got like the. If he was a lady, he'd have the pocket in the bra to protect you from being robbed. But he probably doesn't worry about that because
He
so
doesn't
lucky.
worry about that. He's that's what I love about the luck effects is that idea of tourists being like blissfully ignorant of like he'll go
How
to
they
like
should be in
He might
places.
even be like, no, Absalon's nice. Might check out Shadow Absalon and pop through a portal and be like wandering through Shadow Absalon, just like la da da.
Oblivious.
Like, oh great, and he's like people are trying to mug him, but they're tripping over behind him and like just wandering through. One of the cool ones is also, it's just a cleric feat, but Premonition of Avoidance means you can get a +2 on a saving throw, which is the same thing. So like a trap triggers, and you can just be like, reaction, Premonition of Avoidance, and you're just like, whoop, just sidestep
Might
that.
not go down that alley today.
Yeah, exactly. And since it's a reaction, you could theoretically just do that once every 6 seconds in downtime anyway. So I think it's it would be really fun to role play, and I think that's what I focused on here is like that like deep, really enjoyable camaraderie of the role play because I think
Me too.
Yeah. Well, that actually brings me to my favorite point that we get to, which is like imagining these characters as a party. And
Oh my God.
as you guys were describing yours, I was like, I don't.
Oh my god.
You know what?
I think you've gone to Duke to the Soul Creeps show probably.
Oh, definitely. He absolutely would be one of the like 4 people in the audience, and he'd love it. He'd be like, this show.
400.
This is a character where I'm interested in like how you statted them out. Like, is he very smart or is he like
so
not
as a
at
cleric
all?
with wisdom as his key stat? He's got 12 strength and dex, and then I put everything else into everything else basically. So he's just a little bit above average because he's still stocky. He's worked
He'd been
hard
a
his whole
lumberjack.
life,
Yeah,
but
totally.
So constitution and wisdom are his highest ones.
tracks.
But he's got a bit of intelligence and a fair bit of charisma because you want to have those deception rolls. And also, he's not against stealing something every now and again. He's still a halfling, and followers of Chaldria are
Little bit mischievous.
do tend to be on the mischievous side and tricksters and like
Are you
that
picking
sort of
up
thing.
one of those local maps without paying the dollar?
Yeah,
from the,
exactly.
From the info
yeah.
stall?
Yeah. So it's the whole oblivious tourist, but he's not. He's still pretty streetwise for an oblivious tourist. It's just his innate good luck that lets him just freewheel through life, or the back half of his life, I guess.
I do feel like I keep thinking of all of them with snacks on them.
I feel like they are all very snacky
Yeah.
people.
We've got our musk stick bag.
yeah.
What's
Yeah. What is your snack?
I think it's just fresh mints.
Yeah. It's
Like
breath.
it's keep the
100%,
mints like
you're so
yeah.
right. It's just he's a gum fiend.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like he's always the person who's like
100%.
got a bit of gum.
It's like a little cigarette holder, but it's
Yeah.
just got gum in it
Yeah.
instead of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And it's like really nice.
It
Yeah.
ties him
It's
over
like
when he,
engraved with a dragon
Yeah.
or something. Incredible.
And then a belt of bum bags full of
a belt of bum bags?
Each pocket,
Multiple bum bags.
yeah, the whole way around, and each one
love
has
it.
A bum
different
bag of
Cliff Bar, like Cliff Bar.
A bum bag of holding.
Yeah.
For our American audience, bum bags are what we call fanny packs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just in case that was unclear.
But we can't call them fanny packs because that'd be different.
Yes.
All right, do you think you guys have everything you need to start pulling some bits together?
Yeah, I think we've got a few little tidbits.
Got some things brewing.
Yeah.
We are very excited to see what you come up with, and all of you at home will see it like now.
Right already.
Right now.
Thank you guys for tuning in to It's Character Building. We can't wait to see you next time. And our theme for next episode is...
Artisans, so tradespeople, business people, someone with a profession.
And that will be level 6. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!
Bye.
Thanks again for watching It's Character Building, and if you like this show, be sure to check out the rest of our YouTube channel, check us out on Discord, and please, if you can, support us on Patreon. Our Patreon supporters actually get to submit their own characters for It's Character Building, and this week's submission for Tacky was submitted by Andy, who submitted the Levin, the changeling human rogue, who Andy gave the Oozemorph archetype, and since changelings get to choose a hag ancestry, he's taken the Veilmay ancestry, and Veilmay hags can change their appearance at will. So Andy wants us to know the horrific reality of this character is they can change their disguise by using their sticky Oozemorph hands to slough off the skin of their face, and which they have another face underneath.
That's horrible.
So the most literal interpretation of tacky.
Tacky hands and just scary. Thank you for traumatizing me with that, Andy. And if you want to submit your own character, get on the Discord.
Yeah, and support us on Patreon.